Okay, we're all here, so we're going to call this meeting to order at 5:03. Does that sound about right? Can we have roll call, please?
Chair Bangle,
Here.
Vice Chair Gitteroyce,
Here.
Commissioner Bowen. Here. Commissioner Ackerman,
Here.
Commissioner Faust.
Here. Thank you. Now we have the Pledge of Allegiance. Would Commissioner Faust please lead us?
Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next we have agenda approval and/or modifications. Jonathan, do we have any?
There's one slight modification. There was a copy-paste error on the agenda report. There's one paragraph that was duplicated. So the printed report here deleted the duplicate paragraph.
Thank you for that. Anything else?
That is all.
Okay. Next, we have public comments, non-agenda items. Do we have anybody that would like to speak on non-agenda items?
We have no public comments.
Okay, next, we have discussion items. I will look to staff to take the lead.
Okay, if we can get the PowerPoint up, please. So today's a special meeting for the Parks, Recreation, and Trails Commission. We have our one item. It's a request from Lennar Homes for a deferral of the conditions of approval and Quimby Agreement Amendment relating to the public park dedication at the Quartz Ranch development. So just an overview for the commission and the public. Originally, this is the Newport Estates specific plan, which is quite a large area. It's just north of Newport Road, south of Holland Road, and on both sides of Evans Road down the middle. So it's in the middle there, you can see Evans Ranch Elementary School on the map. When it's ultimately completed, it'll be 856 home sites. There's currently 470 occupied homes there, and it also includes two public parks. There's one that is already built in 2018, which is Mayfield Park. You can see the little icon there on the map. It's about 2.5 acres. And then there's another park that's the subject of the presentation today, which is the Future Park, which is about 5.5 acres in planning area B, 6B. Quartz Ranch is the current development that is south of La Piedra, between La Piedra and Holland Road. So that undeveloped area you see on the map, and that's currently under the ownership of Lennar Homes. So a little background on Newport Estates. The specific plan was approved originally by the County of Riverside over 20 years ago in 2001. Pacific Communities was the original builder. They entered into a Quimby mitigation agreement with the county CSA 145 in 2007, and in that agreement included, the building of those two parks, and I had some permit thresholds on when those parks needed to be built, when they had to turn in plans, etc. Fast forward to November 2015, after the city incorporated, Pacific Communities at that time approached the city and the city council and requested a deferment of some of the park requirements at that time because of the economic downturn that happened in 2008, and there's also some landscape requirements that were new due to the drought-tolerant landscaping at the time. So in November 2015, the City Council did approve deferring some of the park requirements and allowing Pacific Communities to build Mayfield Park a little bit later, and also pushed back the time frames of when the second park, the 6B park, the 5.5 acre park, would need to be built, and all the performance requirements for that. So in 2018, Mayfield Park was completed. We did the grand opening for that, I want to say in March of 2018, right after I started working here. And then fast forward again, Pacific Communities around the end of 2020 completed building 477 homes. And then Lennar acquired the rest of the development, which is that Quartz Ranch development that we're talking about today. So once Lennar acquired and attempted to start building, they went through several issues out at the site. They started with the rough grading permit, but there was a lot of things they discovered as they were going through that process. First, they found some burrowing owls at the site that they had to mitigate and help move. Going through that process, and they found that there was also fairy shrimp on the site, and and they had to go through a whole mitigation effort with the fairy shrimp. Then after working through the environmental agencies, they did get their grading permit. They were ready to start again, but then they found that there was some nesting gnat catchers there as well, and had to work through the mitigation for them, which caused further delays for them. So that pushed them back almost a year to December 2021. So they're ready to go again. And then as they started grading, they discovered a large volume of very large unclassified boulders, which caused them to have to do a very extensive rock crushing project out there. So after they mitigated the boulders, which a lot of them were actually buried in that new park site, they could commence the rough grading, but by that time, the original plans that were submitted by Pacific Communities for the park had expired, so they had to work back with the city again to redo the park plans and the precise grade plan and get that all squared away so they can start working again on getting the park construction going. And then, of course, on top of all that, in that last few months when they were getting ready to start the park, there's the ongoing supply chain issues that even the city faces when trying to do construction, especially with some of the larger items that are involved with the park, like the prefabricated restroom building, the Musco lighting system for the athletic field. That takes several months to order and get on site, and there's a lot of prep work you have to do before that, and also the playground equipment. So there's been several challenges they faced as they took over the project from the end of 2020 to now. So with those challenges that they faced, they're making a request again to the city council. So on the chart here, you can see what the current amended park timing is, what was amended from this and approved by the city council in November 2015. And on the right side of the column, you can see the request from Lennar for that future park is to push back the requirements a little bit. So right now, the park was originally scheduled to be complete and open to the public by the 500th building permit. So they've actually, they're a little bit past that 500 building permit right now. So the building and planning department is not issuing any more permits because the park is not complete. So Lennar is requesting to push that back and allow them to continue their business until they reach the 700th building permit. Also, as far as the park turnover, so the park at first has to be built and complete. Then what we typically do with these new parks is we have like a 90-day maintenance period where the park is open, but the developer is still in charge of maintaining the park, making sure all the plants and everything settles in, all that kind of stuff. And then it's turned over to the city after that 90-day period. So originally that would have to happen once 550 homes are occupied. So the first one is building permits, just a permit to build the home. The next one would be 550 occupied homes. So they're not quite there yet. They actually only, as far as I know, unless William has some additional information, occupied one additional home above Pacific Communities. So they're at 478 occupied homes. So they still have time on the occupancies. It's really on the permitting issue currently. So they're asking for a little more leniency on the occupancies to go up to 625 before the park has to be turned over. The schedule that Lennar has provided is even with some of these supply chain issues, they anticipate completion of construction of the park around May 2023. That would start that 90-day period, and then they would turn over the park to the city around August 2023. So the amount of permits and the occupancy permits that they have listed here would align with their projected time frame for building the new homes. Just for a little more information, this is the conceptual plan of the park that would be there off of La Piedra and Evans Road. So it's about 5.5 acres. There's a lighted multi-purpose field that could be used for soccer, lacrosse, football, that kind of thing. Those look like tennis courts, but they're actually 4 pickleball courts because pickleball is very popular here in Menifee. There's a very large pickleball contingent, and they'd be happy to see that. There's a basketball court, a covered playground, so that playground has a full shade cover over it, even the swing area. There's a couple of picnic shelter areas and a restroom building and a small parking lot there. So it'd be a very nice addition to our Menifee Park system. And so that's kind of a quick overview. And also here we have William Sarcisse and Jeremiah from Lennar Homes, if you wanted to give them an opportunity to say a few words about the project.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for being here tonight. I really appreciate you becoming available for this request. I just wanted to make sure that if you have any questions, we're here to answer them. Obviously, this is something very important to us to be able to continue building homes. We're at a time where things have changed, as you've probably heard, and so this committee is very important to us, and that's why we're trying to make sure that we continue moving forward. I don't know if it was mentioned or it was in the packet. We have bonded for this park, and we are proposing to add a letter of credit to reassure the city that this commitment to build it is serious. We're under construction. We already had the pre-con 2 weeks ago. I think, Bryce, is when we had the meeting. And we've already done all the utility tie-ins. We're doing some retaining wall work. Because of the rain, some of the grading work stopped for a few days, but we're full steam ahead. We want to make sure that this park gets done by the time that we're proposing. So if you have any questions, please feel free to, we're here to answer them. And I think there's no recorder. Do I need to say my name like they told me last time?
Oh, yes, please.
William Sacristi, Director for Planning for Lennar. I always forget. I need to say it at the beginning. Thank you very much.
So Jonathan, we're not voting today. You just simply are gathering comments and you'll incorporate it in your report to council. Does this go to the Planning Commission too, or just to the council?
It's going straight to the city council next Wednesday. Yeah.
Okay. Oh. Okay, so I'll look to the left. Do you want to start with any questions, comments?
Hello. Sorry, I'm not sure if, because it was a lot of information, if I just overheard it. But what was the reasoning why you guys want to move from starting the park after 500 to 700?
And if I can maybe clarify that, so the current requirement is that the park had to be completed by the 500th building permit. So we're already at that threshold and the park's not complete. So they're requesting more time and more permits to 700. But I'll definitely let William speak to that directly.
Yeah, so we're not waiting to start the park. The park is ongoing. We just need more time to be able to get there. And all the reasons that were listed, I'm not going to go over those, but you saw this project is one of those where everything that we fear would happen. I always tease Jeremiah that this has taught him as a project manager more than any other of his previous communities. But yeah, as you saw, we had a small endangered species zoo, and then on top of that, a few other things. But that was. I hope that answers your question.
Okay. Tom?
Regarding the endangered species, have you encountered them anywhere that you're putting up houses, or is it just by the park?
Good question.
Well, depends on which one we're talking about. We found 8 pairs, I think it was. 10 pairs of burning owl. They were all relocated, so none of them are there. The fairy shrimp, there are 2 types in this region, and to be able to determine if it's the one that's endangered versus the one that's not, there's all these multiple tests that need to be taken and samples that need to be, you have to wait basically, was it 3 months or 2 months?
It's test in the wet season.
It's been a wet season.
Right.
It took about 9 months to complete.
Right, so at the end, it turned out to be the good one, so we didn't have it. And then the gnatcatcher, we just had to wait for the nesting season to end. So each one has its own.
The reason I ask is, since you're projecting at 700 permits, you'll be okay, but then these things are still in the background somewhere, and they might trip you up again.
Well, we do monitor. We have a biologist that continues to be on call if anything were to happen. We haven't had anything after the relocations occurred. And we obviously monitor to make sure that there's no ponding water that could create new habitat and any of those things. So once we got going, we're in pretty good shape. We've been in pretty good shape, and we believe they're not there.
So the 700 number at this point, you're confident with 100% or close to it?
Well, that's our projection,
Okay.
that we'll be there by the time the park is completed.
Okay, I have one other thing I want to ask, and that is, the letter of credit what's the term of it? How long is that good for? A year, year and a half?
I think we still need to refine the terms. We agreed on the amount, which is the amount of the contract with the current contractor that we are doing the work. There was a previous bond that was provided for a similar amount, a little less. That was the prices when we first started the project. But the terms, usually a letter of credit is good for a couple of years.
That's why I asked, because we don't want to be in a situation where it runs out.
Yeah. Yeah, and normally we renew if, I think we have a couple, we had one at Menifee Town Center where when it expired, we renewed it and until the obligation was met.
Okay, thank you.
Gentlemen, either or?
Yes, thank you. It's 856 total homes in the project, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
625 occupancy permits, so that's about 73% occupancy before the park would be turned over to us. And can you explain, before issue of the occupancy permit or 90 days after construction is complete? I'm a little confused what that means.
If I may, Commissioner Ackerman, basically, currently it's 550 or 90 days after if they build it faster. So if, say, they built it like at, I don't know, using the current requirements, if they built it at 520, it would be 90 days, from that point. So if after 90 days they're only at 540, it would still turn over to the city. Same thing on the 625 request. If we hit the 90 days at, say, 600 homes, then they would turn it over versus waiting to 625.
Okay, I'm good, thank you.
Chair Bangle, thanks. Bring-oush, fairy shrimp, gnat catchers. I'm surprised you didn't see any Stevens kangaroo rats on site or Lee Spells Vero or some of the other things. But I wasn't clear, is the building permits that have been issued and completed, does that include the homes that were already built in the Newport States development?
Yeah, so that included the 477.
So, yeah, those houses have been there for several years now, right? And along with the park there. That's,
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. I'm pleased that there's an extra line of credit just as a guarantee. I think that's awesome. And I'm excited about this park. Any concerns? I guess there's always concerns, but with the economy going the way it is and interest rates and climbing, being able to actually have occupancy on those homes might be another delay that we might face. There's a risk there, I assume? I guess there's always a risk.
That's why I was asking about the letter of credit and how far out it would reach.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we don't have a crystal ball. I think you have a little bit of a finger in the pulse. You've seen I think, a 30% reduction in building permits in the city overall. That's kind of about what we're experiencing just Lennar in our starts. But because we are at the point where we're stopped, we still want to be able to continue to build. We do have, fortunately, this community is one of the communities that still has sales activity, not as it was a year ago, but it's still fairly significant, and obviously we want to be able to continue with that. We still get a lot of people asking for our plans in Menifee, and we're seeing more decline in other more I guess higher price points and more distant areas. But this is what we would say the fat part of the bat of where families want to move to.
Great. And how do you mitigate for fairy shrimp? Because they stay in the dirt until it rains, right? So.
Yeah, if had we found the endangered one, it would have been
Yeah, big.
an avoidance or buy credits in another location, and so it depends on that. There's different ways.
And the most important question is, when are you going to open Evans Road?
Very good question. We, as soon as we can, we have a plan that we've been working with Nick on the signal. That's what's delayed. There's a gas line there that will not have enough cover, and we try to find with the other property owner to the south ways to avoid it or change their plans, and at the end we're having to relocate the gas line, basically making it lower so that the road improvements can go. As far as the signal work, I think we're pretty much there.
Yeah, the signals are currently at the job site, so once we lower that gas line, we can put the signals in and we can open up, finish that intersection and open up Evans Road.
Is that a major trunk line?
Thank God, it's not a distribution line, so it's just an easy relocation. But the gas company they do their own design and installs. They don't let us touch their gas lines. We're kind of at their mercy on. They told us we're expecting 2 months from now to relocate that gas line, and then we have about another month left of improvements. So, but we're about 3-4 months away from finishing that intersection of Evans Road.
Thank you.
Coming back to you mentioning decline in sales, I just am thinking out loud here, but if the numbers do drop and you were to decide perhaps we don't want to go and build more homes, I think the city should be able, or should set a date and time. For example, you're saying May, to make sure that park is built completely. Because not only are there already people living there who are looking forward to having their park, but the city has to put someplace a mark on the calendar that says this is the point. We've given you 2 extensions if we should do that. And we need to take that money and finish building it or insist that you build it.
Sounds fair. At this point, we don't have any plan to stop. We just need more time. But
I'm just thinking out the possibilities.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a few questions. Did you work with the Riverside County RCA division?
As far as the growing out,
Yes.
we did.
And where did they relocate them to, just out of curiosity?
We ended up relocating them to some conservation areas in the Marietta area.
Okay.
I can't remember, it's been a while. I can't remember the exact name of the conservation area, but that's where we ended up relocating them.
I'm sorry, if you're going to answer questions, can you please go to the podium and speak into the mic? Thank you.
Yeah, so we ended up relocating them to a conservation area in the Marietta area. It was a long process. We had to get approval from U.S. Fish and Wildlife, which is the federal level, California, state, and then RCA. So we had to coordinate with 3 agencies in order to find a place for these owls. And then we also had to hire a qualified biologists, and there's only a handful of biologists in the entire country that are allowed to relocate burrowing owls. So, yeah, that was a struggle.
And I saw it somewhere, I thought, but now I'm not able to find it. Who is your contractor that you hired to build the park?
Marina
Oh,
Landscaping.
good. Okay, they're well known. And are we to understand you've already ordered the restroom, the playground, and the Musco lights?
Yeah, the Musco lights we've ordered along with the restroom building, and then the tot lot, we are just waiting on the city to approve our materials for the tot lot, then we can order that.
And who's the vendor for the tot lot?
Landscape structures.
And how long ago did you order the lights and the restroom?
We ordered the restroom building. We actually got a delivery date of April for the restroom building, and then for the lights, we just placed the order this week, and we haven't got a confirmation, but we expect to have the lights by April too as well.
So why did you wait so long? You've known you had to build this park, you know there's long lead times, so I don't see those as supply chain issues. I see those as,
Well, we couldn't order the materials until the park plan was updated and approved, the new
So the lighting changed and the restroom changed, everything changed?
Correct, we had to update it, yeah. So.
And how is it that we didn't know, as they were going through this work, that the plans are going to have to be updated? In other words, the plans are getting ready to expire. That's why they were delayed, right? Not environmental concerns. There was a term on that plan. So why wasn't that discovered earlier by either the consultants or the developer or the city?
So the
How did that slip?
Yeah, the plans are usually about, have a 2-year window on it, which is about the time they started, and we didn't realize when they would be able to start again. So by the time that time elapsed, it's just bad timing, and it ended up that the plans had to be redone.
It's kind of slipped through the cracks, would you say, or?
I think it was more just the unknowns of when they would be able to start again with all these environmental issues.
Correct, we were unsure when we were going to be able to start, because it wasn't just the environmental issues, it was the rock that we also had to remove too. And it was a lot of rock. We didn't have a complete date of when we were going to finish. We ended up paying a lot of overtime to our grading contractor to get all that rock out and be able to start, finish grading in July. But at that point, then our plans had expired.
Well, that was my other question. Rumor has it that Pacific Communities buried that rock when they did their phase. Is there any truth to that?
I don't want to comment on that. Yeah, so,
It's a rumor.
yeah, and I can't comment on that.
And why didn't we incorporate some of those rocks into the design of the new park since it had to go through redesign? I think that might have been kind of cool. Instead of having these cookie cutter parks, we could have done some really cool things with some large boulders.
Well, we did incorporate some of the boulders on the perimeter streetscape along
Okay.
Evans and La Piedra. But the park plans didn't call for any boulders, so we didn't. But yeah, appreciate maybe that's something we should have thought about, but yeah.
Well, if I may comment on that, the park isn't, we really try to put as many amenities as you can see from concept plan in there, so it kind of tight on space with, having the soccer field and the pickleball courts and the basketball courts and the picnic shelters and the restroom building, so there wasn't a lot of additional space. We really try to get as much as we can into there.
So this is just my opinion, but I probably would have argued for a different design at that point. I would say, hey, we have kind of an amenity here that lends itself very well to a nature center and something other than pickleball and more sports fields. That would have been the place to do it. And I don't know, that should have been thought about, in my opinion. So maybe next time.
Piggybacking onto what you're saying, since the park had to be redesigned, technically, if I understand it correctly, the city could have stepped in and said, well, it's now a new design, we want 5 acres per 1,000, not 3, which was under the county. I think we might have missed a window there, an opportunity.
No, because their Quimby mitigation is still upheld, so it's not because of a redesign of the park that we would change their Quimby requirement of what they would need to pay or mitigate or build.
Okay.
Chair,
And then I had one, and then I'll turn it back over. The restroom, you said it's on order. Who's the vendor?
Public restroom company.
They're not going to hit that date. There's no way, there's no way. So just be prepared.
Okay.
just a question, do we have reclaimed water for irrigation over there?
Yes.
All right.
There's a reclaimed water at the park.
Okay, so if, Scott, if you're correct, then we have to look at a target date, and I think advise this council that we feel that the date is not going to work as part of our finding before it goes to them.
And if I may, Commission, I'm
Think of a porta potties out there.
I'm positive that they'll hit the mark for that. With the restrooms that we've been coming in with these other parks have been coming in on time from when they order it. We have one that we've already ordered, different vendor, but it's the same type. They're coming in on time, so I'm confident.
From public restroom out of Oregon,
Public restroom, yes. We've had 2 different parks that have come in on time in the last year.
from them.
Correct, yes.
And they demanded a cash advance or have they changed their ways?
I'm not sure what the developer had to do purchasing it, but I know they did come in on time.
Okay. I've never seen them come in on time, but I trust you, Bryce. Okay, is there any other questions? So what were you saying, Tom?
I was just thinking out loud, but
Yeah.
since we're going to be advising the council and giving them our findings, the fact that you feel that there's a doubtful factor in there with those restrooms, there ought to be a date, a calendar date that says, okay, you've made it. They're suggesting here that it would be May. And if that doesn't happen, then I think the city has to either make a penalty or step in, take that money and start building the park itself. Something has to happen. It can't just say, okay, we blew that date.
Do you care to comment on that, Jonathan? Did you hear that?
I mean, what we could do is stop permits until the park is complete. So if that
That's
is.
a hammer. That's your hammer.
That could be a recommendation from the Parks Commission that they're requesting to go to, the 700th and the 625th occupancy. But if the park isn't completed by the schedule that they're proposing by May, we would stop at that point until they finish. Say if it's, I don't know, beginning of June, it slips a couple of weeks, we just stop for a couple of weeks. Then they're done, then we start again.
Okay, because I do feel us, this commission, and the council have to consider the folks who live there.
Sure.
Who have been waiting for so long to see this reach completion. Okay, thank you.
Well, I just want to say, I still can't believe that you were able to clear all those hoops as fast as you did. I know it probably seemed like a lifetime to you, but for those 3 issues, having dealt with them all, it's something, it's almost a miracle. It really
Yeah,
is.
yeah, we
It's pretty
also-
impressive.
Yeah, it was-
You have a good consultant, CVS.
Yeah, we have a good team here at Lennar.
Yeah.
What also wasn't mentioned was we also found artifacts belong to the Pechanga tribe that we had to
Oh, I was wondering
preserve.
about that, yeah.
Yeah, so
How many tribes did you have? Or just Pechanga?
it was just Pechanga.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have 2 large milling slicks that are going to be located in the backyards of 2 home sites now. We preserved for Pechanga. So
Fun project.
yeah, but that also stopped grading. Yeah, as well. So.
Well, was there any more comments from the commission?
Well, with reference to those having been found, they need to be also, that information has to be passed on to the council. Just a comment. One more thing that should be in this report. In addition to the gnat catcher and all the other things that have happened.
The artifacts.
Yeah, the artifacts.
Yeah, we still have time to update the report to council.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
We can provide the details for you to add that paragraph, unless you feel like you know.
We just want to make sure we're sensitive to disclosure, so that information is sensitive, so we'll work together on that.
Yeah.
Let us know if you
Okay.
need anything else.
Sometimes you can't disclose stuff like that because then you get a bunch of people with shovels go looking. You can do it away without making it. You should know that. Okay, I think you have our comments, sir. So,
If I may, just maybe go back to one more item. Commissioner Gidroyce mentioned about, the timing of the park and an issue if they didn't hit that, what they're proposing. Is that a consensus of the commission to make that recommendation?
I'm hearing yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep, by nodding, I'm hearing.
okay.
Okay, so do we stand adjourned?
If there's nothing further for the commission.
The only thing I just want to say, it's off record, but heck of a job the other day with the ribbon cutting. Large crowd, everybody looked happy, great facility.
Yeah.
And I'm proud to be able to say you built the biggest one in California, so job well done.
I second that. That was just awesome event.
We're still going to race. You and I are going to race.
We will.
Okay.
Were we going to do the vote again?
There was no vote.
Yeah, it wasn't really a vote, just.
No, for the email that I had sent?
Oh, we're going to schedule it for the December
Oh,
1st
okay.
meeting, yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And our next meeting is the tour on the 14th.
So we do have a tour, not an official meeting per se, but we're going to do our commission tour next Monday on the 14th at 1 o'clock. Unfortunately, I will not be available. I have another meeting on a not as exciting issue that the city manager requested that I go to. So Bryce will be more than capable, probably much more knowledgeable.
be the tour guide? I'm driving.
Much more knowledgeable than me on these parks, so he'll be your tour guide.
Do we get issued BMX bikes? Is this part of
It
the?
should be.
I think you got to work that out with him, so.
What's the tentative itinerary? Which parks are we going to visit, park sites? Did we discuss that? Did we discuss that?
I think they're
I've
all the
discussed it
proposed.
multiple times, but off the top of my head, I I'm
I
not.
think we're looking at Underwood, Remington. We're going to go by the pump track again so you guys can see it
When
without
it's
the
not as
giant
full.
crowd there and have an opportunity to walk that.
I went this morning, yesterday morning, it was packed.
Yeah.
Like at 6. It was crazy.
Yeah, it's busy there. I mean, the Friday, they're there by 7 in the morning, yeah.
Yeah.
They're there riding. A lot of guys try to get it in before they go to work or before it's busy, so. Yeah, I apologize about not knowing exactly, remembering what parks, but.
But definitely Underwood,
Yeah.
Remington, pump track, and then probably a couple others, if we have time.
Well, gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Have a good evening. Okay, we're adjourned at, looks like 5:40.
Okay, thank you, commissioners, for making
Thank you.
extra time to come down today. Really appreciate that.